Welcome to the Daniel Fast Cookbook Presale case study. I'm excited that you are here and I am looking forward to sharing these results with you. So let's dig in. And whether you're watching live or you're watching this on the recording, on the replay, let me know, have you done a presale before and why or why not? And so you can drop that in the comments wherever you're viewing this from. And that just lets me know where people are and where we're going to go. Okay, so if you have done pre-sales before, okay, Sarah said that she has not because she just wasn't sure how. And okay, Jennifer said that she is hesitant. Okay, that's totally normal. So we'll talk about that further as well. All right, so I am Ashley and I'm the owner of Shep Publishing House, and I'll let you know a little bit more about me. And so I'm a wife of almost 10 years, a mom of two, and as of last June, a full-time entrepreneur. And I'll tell you the details on that. And then I'm the owner of Shep Publishing House, where we help authors get from the page to the people with efficient and effective marketing strategies so they can get paid to publish. And then also I'm the owner of Chef Ashley Shep, which helps busy moms get dinner done faster with quick, healthy, and tasty meals. And so here are some places I've been featured. And so Medium, Voyage ATL, Disney, yes, the actual Disney, and then also on the YouVersion Bible app, and I'll talk about that as well. Well, I have a gift for you. This is absolutely free, and so this is my pre-sale timeline cheat sheet. Often when people are doing pre-sales, they ask, okay, well, how do I know when I need to open my pre-sale? How do I know when I need to turn off my pre-sale? How long do I have to promote? When should I order my author copies? When can I ship my items? And so if that's a question that you have, go ahead and use your smartphone's smartphone's camera to be able to scan this QR code, and it will take you right to this cheat sheet, and it will help you to be able to plan out your pre-sale, because it's really easy to be unsure of these things if you've never done a pre-sale before. And so I wanted to make it something where it was easy to follow and also attainable for you to be able to use to plan out your pre-sale. Okay, and so this is the same QR code on the screen. And so those same questions: how big of an audience size do I need? Do I need to already have my editing done? These are questions that I find that most of my clients, or people who are potential clients or just followers, generally have when it comes to mapping out their pre-sale. So I wanted to put all of that in one space for you to be able to have it. And throughout this training, I will include other examples that you can use. So be sure to keep your phone handy to be able to scan the codes to get those items. In this section, we'll be talking about the strategy of book launching. And so a book launch is a clear, defined step to get the word out about your book and its release to help you create raving fans that are happy to support your book. And this strategy comes from my Profitable Publishing Pentagon. And so I will actually map out this in my cookbook pre-sale, so that way you can see those steps and give you my timeline so you'll know exactly how I went about this. But first, I want to share and shout out one of my clients. Her name is Veronica Moore, and her book is Rosie's Special Gift. And so Veronica used this strategy exquisitely to be able to make almost $10,000 in pre-orders on her first book. Shout out to Veronica. And so she was very strategic about her book launch steps, making sure that her audience was aware on social media. She also did collaborations and was very sure to follow those strategies and steps that I will be teaching you in just a moment. So congrats, Veronica. All right, so now this is the timeline of events that I used for my Daniel Fast Cookbook pre-sale. And so the pre-sale started in November, but for purposes of showing you the bigger picture, this includes the entire book launch. So that way you're aware of each of those steps. Remember, like we talked about in the previous section of this case study, the pre-sale is the smaller portion of where your cart is open, meaning people can purchase the book to be able to buy it. So let's get started. All right. On October 12th, 2023, that's when I actually got a bulk book order for my devotional, which came out in 2020. And so this was something that kind of kickstarted the pre-sale because I was able to share that on social media and let people know, hey, Daniel fast season is coming. If you have a church that is doing the Daniel fast, then please consider getting a copy of my book. Then, a few days later, I decided to survey people that were in the Daniel Fast groups that I'm a moderator in, as well as my own groups, and ask them their thoughts on whether they would prefer metric measurements in cookbooks. Now, I'm in the United States and we use Imperial, so things like gallons, teaspoons, things like that. However, the majority of the world uses metric. And so, because I know from my devotional that people are international, the people that purchase my devotional live all over the world. I've gotten orders from Uganda, Australia, India, places in Europe. And so I wanted to be accessible to my customers. And so I not interviewed, I asked them what they would prefer. And so this is already starting to kind of tease things out so people can say, okay, something's coming. What is she working on? It's something with food. Then on the 17th of October, I asked on my Facebook page, my professional mode Facebook page, which cookbook binding do you prefer? And so notice this got about 59 responses. And so at this time I was debating between offering spiral, hardcover, or paperback of my cookbook. And so this helped to also generate a buzz. And then later, once the cookbook was available, I did go back and add the website link for them to purchase. But that was not there in the original post. Then, about a month later, I made the announcement that my manuscript was sent to the editor. And so this is another step to build a buzz to let people know, hey, I'm working on this. It's happening. I officially sent my cookbook manuscript to the editor today. I don't always stop to celebrate, but today I will. And so same thing, 150 comments, almost 150 comments and almost 300 likes. And so this is something where it's an easy way to let people be involved with the process without telling them too much, but also letting them know, hey, I'm working on something and I'd love your support. Okay, then pre-sales officially opened for my email list on Black Friday and also inside my Facebook group. So it's always important to prioritize the people who have been rocking with you for the longest. I always think that's nice to do. And so when I'm doing something, I let them know first. At the same time, it was Black Friday, and I said, okay, I need to also let other people know that it is available. And so I did the Facebook group and then also my email interest list, which I'll explain in a bit. And then in general, I let people know the pre-sales were available. So this was the post that I used to do that. And so it's just informing them pre-sales are open for the cookbook, and there's two options. They can get the bundle or they can get just the book. And on the right side, this was a screen recording of me going through the sales page so they could see what was on it. Next, on December 8th, I did a live video that was multicast, multi-streamed to multiple places to share about the publishing steps. And so you'll notice that I have screen shares of the different photos that appeared or that would appear in the cookbook. And I did that so that people can actually see what's to be expected. And because I didn't have a copy of the book yet, I didn't get copies of the book until almost a month after this. And so this is a way for me to share with my audience and generate sales before I was able to actually have the book in hand. Next, taking another inside look at the book, I shared spreads from it. And so this first one was actually a spread for some stuffed peppers. And the reason why I did that was to show people this is what it's going to look like when you get your copy of the book. And so on the inside, I also showed how I was very specific and particular about how I wanted the cookbook to look so that it was helpful to the reader. And for example, in here, I made sure to point out that the ingredients are bolded. I made sure my formatter was able to do that. So that way it was something that makes it easier when you're cooking. And then also the steps are listed out because as someone who cooks, it's frustrating if you're trying to make something and you're trying to remember what step was I on and the directions are bulleted instead of numbered. And so that was another point that was important to me too. And then also showing that it's not just a cookbook. There's also tips, tricks, guides, things like that to help you on your cooking journey. And so then a couple days after that, I had people vote on the cover. And so once again, giving priority to my email list of those who were interested in the book, I asked them to vote on a cover. Now, at this point, I already had in mind what cover I wanted. However, I knew that this was a great way to generate engagement and also to let people feel like they're involved in the process. And sometimes there are things where people are able to point things out that you would not have guessed or that you might not have thought about. Okay. And so, moving on, then on the 22nd of December, I gave an inside preview. And so this was a screen share of what the book looked like at that formatting step. So my formatter returned the book to me and showed me the digital copy of the book, returned the book to me and showed me where we were at that point. And so I shared it with my audience, let them know that it's not complete. And I just did a screen share of that and then shared that same preview with everyone else, meaning my social media audience and people who were not interested in the book, because these are all things that make people interested in the book once they have a chance to check it out. Then I had my book launch party on my birthday, December 28th, and I'll dig into that in a bit. And so this was a cookbook launch birthday party. And I also chose this date because it was 3 years to the day after my previous book, which is the devotional. And so it ties perfectly together. They're matching, they go together. And then on January 3rd, I did if you all remember the viral trend, like I'm blah, blah, blah. Of course I da da da. So if you remember that, drop a 1 in the comments. So I did a version of that with the Daniel fast. And at that point, I had not really been using TikTok very much. However, over Christmas break, well, over the Christmas holiday, Christmas and New Year's, I found that there was a large audience of people looking for information on the Daniel fast on TikTok. And TikTok is essentially a search engine. And so at the time of this recording, it was still able to be used in the United States. Lord knows what will happen to it later. But I said, okay, I need to capitalize on this. And I know that people worldwide do the Daniel fast in January. So I did that video, and then I'll show you stats from that. But within hours, within a few days, it was starting to go viral. And so I reposted that on Facebook and Instagram as well. Then skip the proofs arriving. So the day before that, the proofs arrived. So I was able to do the video to be able to have that. But notice that I still did videos before I had that. I just was able to include the book at that time. Okay, so here's a few screenshots of other TikTok videos I did as well on the topic once I saw that it was doing pretty well. So between a couple hundred to a couple thousand views were happening on there. And then throughout the rest of the month, I just continued to post on there as well as posting on Facebook, of course. But I noticed that there was an opportunity, and so I wanted to utilize that opportunity to be able to reach out to folks and give them things that they could talk about. And so videos that did particularly well over there was stitching someone else's video. And so this is one where, if you're familiar with the Daniel fast or if you're not, it's an adjustment in eating. So you can't have meats, sweets, or added sugar. And so generally when pastors announce that your church is doing the Daniel fast, the congregation sometimes panics because they're like, well, what am I going to eat? And so this was a video of someone who the audio was like, I can't believe it, Jesus. And so they're like stuffing their face before the fast starts. And so stitching that and then saying, hey, I have ideas for you. And so this one got a little under 3,000 views. And then another one, this one was about 5,000 views. It was giving snack ideas. And so playing around to see which ones did well was helpful because I was able to target to know what kind of other videos to make. Okay. Also, throughout the rest of the month, I'm still, of course, sharing images and recipes in those Facebook groups where I was a moderator and on my main page as well as Instagram. And then also having cooking demonstrations. And so there were 2 churches that booked me to be able to do a cooking demo with them and be able to share recipes from the cookbook. And they also ordered bulk copies as well. On the 11th of January, the book went live. The ebook version went live on Kindle on Amazon KDP, not the physical copy. Okay. Then on the 25th, I updated the audience to let them know that the books were in the process of printing and the bulk copy of printing. At that point, I had approved my proof. And so they were in the process of being printed. And this was a picture that my printer sent me. And I had a, enough copies to cover the pre-sale expedited to me, because at this point the pre-sale started November 25th, and then I wanted to go ahead and let those people get their copies first, because that's the whole point of the pre-sale. You get to get your stuff first. So on the 31st of January, I placed the expedited order. I'm sorry, the order shipped. So the order shipped to me, as well as the regular order for the non-expedited. So it was shipped through sea for the regular order, and then the expedited one was supposed to be by plane. And so during this timeline, there was a bit of a tussle with FedEx, where the books were getting shipped back and forth, and then I was being told that they're in customs, and then my printer's like, they're not in customs. And so for about a week, a little over a week, about 10 days, there were no updates, and they were just sitting. And so at that point, a little bit of a panic ensued. However, I was able to keep in touch with the printer, and she was able to keep in touch with FedEx as well. But at that time, Chinese New Year was also approaching, and so praise God that they were able to get out before then, because then at that time things are kind of stagnant. And so the first expedited order arrived on February 12th. And during this time, I'm still updating my audience, letting them know, saying like, okay, the books are in Alaska, they're here, all those things. So then I was able to ship out the first batch of pre-sales on the 14th of Valentine's Day. And then the final carton of books arrived on the 20th of February. Okay, so now we're going to go over some of the steps in detail from this strategy. So this is the launch. So pre-launch, before I opened up my pre-sales, I made sure to have my sales page ready so that I was able to collect those sales. Also offering coupon codes for Black Friday and free shipping at different times where I felt it was appropriate to do. Using those emails to be able to connect with folks, letting them know, hey, something's coming. Are you interested? Click here to be added to the list. And also, these are things that I'm working on. Here's the inside of the book, keeping them looped in, because people like to be informed. They don't want to just open up social media one day and say, oh, I released a book, buy my book. That generally doesn't work unless you've been priming your audience, or unless it's your first book. Then there are cases where people will just do that. However, you want to make sure your audience is in the loop. So, of course, those social media posts that I mentioned as well. And then after I got a physical copy of the book, then I did a preview video and added that to the sales page, which increased the purchases, because people were able to see that, okay, this is a real thing, and they were able to envision what it would look like. I did weekly live streams, and so these were anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll go into more detail about what those were and the topics. And then I'll also share how the printable ebook version, so the PDF version of the book, how it was actually able to help me generate $360 in 48 hours, and then $580 during this timeline, just with the PDF. And also, I'll share how there were codes that I used to track sales for that, based upon those Facebook groups that I was a moderator for. And with this, another thing about Amazon KDP, as mentioned before, they have certain regulations that they follow. And so if you are doing the Kindle free ebook version, then your book cannot be available anywhere else in terms of the ebook. The physical copy, yes. So at this point, because this was the PDF, I did this before placing it on sale for Amazon on the ebook version, because I wanted to be able to make it free on Amazon. Amazon doesn't like if you have it free here, but then you're charging for it somewhere else. Then additional items that I included for folks who purchased the book, or to get them to purchase the book, is I emailed out weekly meal plans and grocery shopping lists. So if you purchased the pre-sale, then part of the thing that you got that was a bonus was 3 weeks of meal plans and grocery shopping lists. Now, these were already included in the cookbook. There are pages that are inside of the cookbook. However, what I did is I pulled out those pages from the PDF and made a separate document. And this is a relatively easy way, or this was a relatively easy way for me to provide additional support to the cookbook purchasers, as an extra thank you and as a bonus, because it wasn't something that I had to pay extra for. It was already in the book. However, instead of having to have the person flip through back and forth to find those things, just having it like, okay, this is week 1. Here's what you need to buy. Here's what the meal plans are for this week, week 2, and so on. And so it's important to find ways to wow your readers and to help them on their journey to make it so they're able to use the book and more likely to leave a great review. And at that point, they didn't have the book yet. So this was even more welcome. They had just a digital copy. And so for those Facebook groups, I was a moderator in, it was actually, well, okay, yeah. So I was previously a moderator in 2 of those groups. And at that time, they had 100,000 people between the 2 of them. Over the course of the Daniel fast, one of them grew 50,000 people. And so now it's over 150,000 between the 2 of them. And then I reached out to a new group to try to form a collaboration, but that one did not work out. We were not a good fit. And then an additional group that was new that had just started during my pre-sale in December of 2023 when the pre-sale was open, then they blossomed to 30,000 people. And these are all people that are tied to my topic. They are strictly Daniel Fast groups. So these are groups that are full of my ideal potential readers. And so using that and galvanizing that made it so that I was able to get some great results. So here on the right side, we have the hot new release for my book. And this was when it was first coming out during that free promo period that I used the Amazon free option, which I'll go into in a bit. So another strategy that I used to be able to get people to download the free version of the book is to post a recipe or post a picture of something or give them some tips or strategies about the Daniel fast and then ask them to comment and tell them I'll send them the link for the free version. So asking them, would you try this dish? Or is this something that you've tried before? Things of that sort. And so I would, during that time period, during that 3 to 4 week period during January when people are doing the Daniel fast, most of the time, or the highest time when people are doing it, then I would post 1 to 2 times a day and partnered with the owners of those groups to be able to send them a digital copy so they could have it, so they could see what I was advertising. And then we worked out something between the different groups. One owner of the group was like, you can post whatever you want to post. This is fabulous. Another one was like, you can only post 5 times about the book, but you can still share recipes and free things. And so it just depended on what the agreement was with that group. And then because it was so many people in those groups, I created what's called a canned response. And so this is a response that you use all the time because people would tag me, they would ask me questions, and these groups had up to 200,000 people across all of them, including my own groups. So in order to stay organized, I had saved responses in my phone. So I'm an iPhone user. Sorry if you're Android. I don't know how to do this on Android, but they probably have an app or a feature. So you can save responses. So basically, if I were to type in certain letters that I pick, so for example, I did DFG, Daniel Fast Group. So if I type in those 3 letters together, I already have a response saved that will pop up that that will automatically paste wherever I'm typing. So for example, people would come in the group and say, oh, well, I don't know how to do the Daniel fast. Can you help me out? So in my canned response, once I typed DFG, it would automatically include things that I had set out for them. So directions for them, Bible references for them, a link to my devotional, a link to the cookbook, a link to the free Bible plan. So that way I'm not spending a ton of time responding to people who are asking the same questions, but I'm still helping them because they have the same question that everybody generally asks. Okay. Also, on Instagram, so of course I didn't abandon Instagram, but what I did over there instead is I did reach out for a few collaborations. One of them was with Daniel Fast 2024. That's a faceless account, and they just post Daniel Fast stuff. And so I asked them if they would be open to doing a collaboration. And so I sent them an electric copy of the book, and then the owner cooked one of the recipes from the book and then posted about it and tagged me. And so that was helpful. And then during the pre-sale time period, I met in person Maddie James. She's an influencer on Instagram, and she has a book called Everyday Magic. And so her brand and my brand are aligned in terms of being faith-based and like mom life type things, and entrepreneurs as well. And so we met at a conference, and I saw her post about doing the Daniel fast, and I said, oh, well, can I send you a copy of my book? And then that way, when you do it next time, you can use it. And so I did. I got the correct information for her to do it. And then she reposted the book as well. And so then I reposted her post. And as I said before, for Instagram, it wasn't my main focus because it requires more work to get to the sale. And because my audience is not on there, the audience that I was working with was not predominantly on there. So I focused on YouTube, Facebook, and then my email list. And so, oh, and TikTok. And so another influencer on TikTok reached out to me and asked if she could do a collaboration. It was her first one. And so same thing, sent her an electronic copy of the book. Figured there's not much to lose. I've got my copyright. She's just trying to grow her audience. And so that was another area as well. And then I also hosted a cooking class during the last week of the fast as well, which I'll talk about also. So next, and bestseller status in the vegan diets. And one thing to note, I don't know if you are aware of this, but Amazon has free bestseller lists and then paid bestseller lists for ebooks. So because you can make your ebook free. So this one was #1 in vegan diets for a couple weeks. Now, other things that were helpful is that I was able to use the strategies that I was using for the pre-sale on my agency page to show authors like yourself or potential authors what they could do. And these things included items such as collaborating with churches. And so Galilee Baptist Church was one that I've worked with before in Maryland, and they ordered 200 copies of the book, the devotional. And then they are set to also order in the future for next year for the cookbook. And then New Beginnings in Buffalo was a new church that I worked with that I found, and they ordered copies of the devotional and the cookbook. And so through those things, I was able to hit 50 pre-sales relatively quickly, and then decided to go ahead and add the ebook onto Amazon on January 19th to be able to use that free strategy to get reviews. And so it was also an opportunity to request reviews from existing cookbook owners who had the electronic copy that I had sent via PDF from my website before I added it onto Amazon. So after I did that, so after the ebook was on after the pre-sale was coming to an end, I needed to remove the pre-sale wording from my website so that it was just regular for sale, and then change the PDF wording to change the bundles that I offered that were on there, so that way people could see what was something that they were receiving that would, like, for example, after Black Friday, after the time period that I had set. And so for the free download strategy, I'll explain to you what it is if you're not familiar with it. You have the opportunity, if you have your ebook on Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, to make your ebook free. And so you can do it for up to 5 days. And it's an opportunity where people can download it for free, and then they can read it in hopes of them leaving reviews. And so that's a strategy that I used from, it was a Wednesday to Sunday, and I shared it through social media posts and email outreach. Okay, so from that, I was able to get 300 ebook downloads in those 5 days. And then from that, 200 ebook downloads were in just 2 days from the free Kindle deal. And at this time, I'm glad that I did, but I almost didn't do it. I almost didn't do the free ebook option because at this point, I had already done a PDF version on my site and made almost $600 from the PDF version, the printable version. And so I thought, oh, okay, I don't know if I want to do this for free on Amazon, even though I tell my clients to do it for free because it makes sense and it helps the algorithm on Amazon know that this is something that people are interested in. And so I myself had those same doubts. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm glad that I did. And there were issues with the file that have never happened before, but it kind of delayed things a little bit. And then also something that I didn't realize before, because my previous books were a different file size because it was a cookbook and there were so many pictures, I had to charge more because the way that Amazon decides how much your ebook So after it was free, I had to make sure I charged more, because more than I would normally charge for let me slow my brain down. So after the free period, I had to assign a cost to the ebook. And so because of that, I originally was going to make it a little bit cheaper, but ended up having to make it $9.99 or closer to that $9.99 range because Amazon bases it off of your file size. So my previous ebook was not a very large file size because it was a devotional. And so just something to keep in mind that if you have a larger book, if you have a larger book that has a larger file size. So also, of course, researching those keywords and categories and making sure that it's something that people can find organically was something that I did during that process. And sharing on social media and those Facebook groups and encouraging people to grab a copy while it's free is always a great way to make sure that that you're optimizing those sales. And by sales, I mean either free downloads or actual sales. And so one tip, if you're going to use this free ebook strategy, is to make sure that people are using the buy now for free button, not the read for free button, and it makes a difference. And so when you do this, it makes it count as a sale if they click the one that's at the bottom. So this buy now for free, which kind of sounds weird, but it's necessary for it to be calculated as a sale. And so for that, this is just me showing an option for people to go ahead and grab it, saying it's free. And this was a strategy that worked very well during this time period for this option. All right, so now we have another client spotlight. This is D.M. Whitaker of Water Rocks Publishing and Branding. And so for her pre-sales, she focused on her Scary Dinosaur and Stinky Skunk series. This is when we worked together to create her book bundles. So that way she was able to package her existing books and her new book that was coming out as a part of the series in a way that enticed people to purchase. And so she used social media marketing, email marketing, and also vending events as well. Now, after the pre-sale was over, there are certain things that I had to do to wrap up that portion. And so, of course, in general, you're always going to be marketing your book and always going to be talking about your book. However, there's certain things that you can do in order to kind of wrap things up with a nice bow. And so I had plans and I had certain things I was going to do. However, I had to cut my pre-sale at that 12-week mark because the day that I shipped out the pre-sale books, after I left the post office, I found out that my grandmother had passed away. And so I just quietly closed the pre-sale about 2 days later and put everything on pause, went to go be with family and things of that sort. And so life happens and that's okay. And so after that, I came back and said, okay, I need to do some ending stats just to kind of celebrate this. And so things that you can do that I did in order to share about your pre-sale or your launch in general is to repost things that people post. And so this is a post that I did, or not I didn't do this. This is a post that I was tagged in. And here, this is from a church where I did a talk about healthy eating. It was a virtual talk about healthy eating, and you have these little smiley faces because they're kids and teens, so they're minors, and so I covered their faces. And this was something where somebody sponsored the books for the kids that attended live, and it's just a way to share, to let people know, like, okay, my book's already out, but I'm still making an impact. I'm still able to reach people, and so it's still something you should consider for yourself. And so then also making sure that I reviewed the stats post pre-sale, not only so that I could do this case study, but just in general to really measure the analytics. And I'll share those in the portion where we have success at the end, and making sure that I am aware of what worked and what didn't work. And so that's what I focused on post pre-sale. Also, I encouraged people who were not just doing the Daniel fast to purchase the cookbook or to check it out. And so because it's a book that essentially is a vegan cookbook, then there's people who, even if you're not doing the Daniel fast, but you're a Christian, it's a cookbook that would be beneficial to you. And then now I'm in the process of adding this book on to Amazon Advantage, which is an option if you are looking to do something like I did, such as having Spiral, because Amazon KDP does not offer that, and neither does Ingram Spark. And so also because of the way that I structured the book, I have coded color pages, and those are not available through Amazon, which was another reason at the time of this recording, which was another reason why I decided to do an offset print order, because when you're cooking, I know personally when I'm cooking, my hands get sticky and I have stuff on them, and I didn't want my pages to smudge when people were cooking if their hands were wet. And so it's something where you can add your book to Amazon a different way. And instead of Amazon printing and shipping the book for you, you ship the book and print the book and send it to Amazon, and then they send it to the customer. Um, as well, I'm in the process of circling back about bulk book orders with churches who expressed interest and sent them a copy, an autographed copy of the cookbook. So that way, as they're planning their next Daniel Fest for the top of the year, then they'll keep me top of mind, and I'll follow up through email as well. And then in the process of increasing the testimonials on the listing for Amazon, because of course we know that people love to see that other people have purchased. And so encouraging folks to leave reviews, asking them to leave a review, giving free copies of those of the book to those who are interested, who are part of an organization, that would be aligned as well. And if you are interested in getting bulk book orders for your book, go ahead and scan this code and you can see my video about how to get bulk book orders. And I talk about the process of how I was able to do that for this book as well. And then additionally, I'm working on an audiobook version of the cookbook and the devotional. And if you're not familiar with audio versions, audiobooks are the fastest growing format at the time of this recording. And it's something where it makes your book more accessible to people, because I know myself, like I don't always have time to sit down and read a book, but I'll listen to a book. And people who are learning a new language, it also makes it accessible to them. And so to kick this off, I asked in those same Facebook groups that I'm a moderator in, saying, hey, I'm working on an audiobook version of my cookbook and devotional. Would you be interested um, in listening to it for free and giving a review? Now, Audible is the platform I'm going to use, or ACX, which goes to Audible. And they have different policies than Amazon KDP. So for the audio versions, you can give free codes, and then they have free codes that you can use, and they understand that you're doing that so that people can leave a review. So they're totally okay with that. And for this, I also created an interest list page for people to sign up. So once these people responded, then I created a page and said, okay, go ahead and sign up here. Now, for the pre-sale, these are the items that I included in the pre-sale so that you're aware of what people were buying. And so I included a book bundle option, which had a hardcover or spiral, so they got to pick. And then for Black Friday, I included a few extra items, such as a cooking class and free shipping. And so that did pretty well. People were excited to get free shipping and the cooking class. And then after Black Friday, or sorry, whether it was Black Friday or not, they also got these other items here, which are shown here. So these two things are book business cards, and on one side it was the devotional and the other side was the cookbook, and it included descriptions of both of them as well as QR codes for people to be able to scan it to go to the book website to find out information. And so I always like to include things that help your book be shareable with somebody else. And so that's what these two are. And then I included a magnetic bookmark to keep your place, as well as sticky flags so that way they could stick them on recipes that they thought that they would want to try. A Sharpie, I'm sorry, not Sharpie, a permanent marker, and I did a green one because that fits with health and my food brand. And I did a Sharpie because, like I mentioned before, those pages are coded, and so they are going to be something that if you try to use a regular pen, it's going to smudge. And so I wanted them to be able to use the rating system that's in the cookbook that has stars and also a note section on each recipe, so they can write inside their cookbook and use it to be able to remember, okay, what do I want to change for next time? What do I want to add? Things like that. Then this was a laminated card that included scriptures on one side to help them during their Daniel fast. And then on the back side, it included steps to get them to share with others about the book. And then this was a faith sticker because the whole point of the Daniel fast is to increase your faith. And then lastly, this was a thank you card, which on this red section, it explained what all of these other items were, so they would know how to use them. And then a code to follow me. On the back, I wrote a very heartfelt message thanking them for purchasing it and supporting me during a time where I was in my valley, and telling them I was climbing out of that valley into the mountaintop. And and also this little paper clip was a cross, and so I wrapped these items up and paper clipped them together. And so that was all in the bundle. But if you just wanted the book, I did have that available as well. Originally, I just offered spiral and hardcover, and then, as I mentioned before, the PDF version was only available up until the point where I added the ebook version onto Amazon. Then lastly, I added the paperback after the pre-sale ended, and that just had to do with what inventory I had when things shipped. Now that you've finished the book launch portion, I want you to go ahead and go to section 2 of this case study, where you'll be able to see how I use social media to increase engagement over 100% on some of the platforms. Check it out.